All right, folks, Jermaine Ferrell in the house with Crunch Time, baby. Of course, getting ready to enter another week of high school football. Before we do that, let's look back at the week. And of course, joining me right now each and every week is the publisher of Crunch Publications, Captain Crunch, Carl York. How are you doing, sir?
Jermaine event. Good to hear from you, buddy.
Good stuff. I tell you what a week it was last week, and obviously some interesting games, some interesting scores. And our game of the week last week, Patrick Henry taking on Salem. And you mentioned that game, our pregame on it, and then obviously Salem controlled the game and they defeated Patrick Henry 35-17. Just your feelings on the game.
Yeah, you can't get behind Salem. If you get behind them, kind of keep the ball from you and grind it out. But Sean Collins, I mean, that's the guy at Salem that's really making a lot of plays these days. Big number 2 back there. He's just got a nose for the ball, and he did it again against Patrick Henry, accounting for a couple touchdowns, really with 2 touchdowns within a couple minutes apart even. And, he just has a way of coming up with the ball and making a big play. And when you've got a team as good as Salem and they have playmakers like that as well, it really makes it difficult to go into their stadium and upset them.
And then obviously, I mean, another team that we have our eye on, the Lord Bottop Cavaliers, had a big win over William Fleming, beat them 49-6. So, and then Hunter Rice accounting for all seven touchdowns for the Cavaliers.
Yeah, he's so good, and he's done it for so long. And every year he gets bigger, he gets faster, he gets stronger. And the big news on him on the street is that he decommitted to Army to open up his recruiting again. So that's really interesting. Makes you wonder, where he's looking now and who's talking to him, because he just gets better every week.
Circling about opening up recruitment, obviously Jordan and Jaden McDonald, the McDonald twins from Salem, they were going to Louisiana Monroe along with Xavion Wood, and the McDonald twins decided to go to Virginia Tech, and they signed with the Hokies. And now, obviously, Xavion Wood, he's opened up his recruitment. So it's interesting. That's an interesting philosophy. I mean, kids will do that because you commit to a school early, but then it's a verbal commitment. And a lot of times we don't really run verbal commitments because, obviously they could change. I mean, when signing day happens, they put pen to paper, that's where it really becomes real. But, when an athlete commits to to a college, I mean, it's a decision they make, and they have every right to change their mind on that. And that's really what makes it interesting. So, for full disclosure, I mean, I tell everybody all the time, and we traditionally don't run commitments. Once we do signing day, we have that because again, they could change their mind, and they have every right to do that. But just and it's an interesting thing when that happens.
Yeah, what's interesting too, though, is it goes both ways. The colleges do it too. They may be interested in you, and then a bigger fish come along, and then all of a sudden they don't have a spot for you. I mean, that happens all the time as well. So it goes both ways. I mean, you hear about kids committing to somebody early, and it looks like they're going there, and then all of a sudden they're not going there, just like you're talking about with the McDonald twins and Wood over at Salem. I mean, that's a long ways to go down in Louisiana to go to college, but a lot of times that's what happens, with recruits, with young people. They get some interest from some schools, and then that's what spurs more interest from other schools. And really, it's really the start of the race when that happens. It's not the finish necessarily when they start to get attention like that.
But you know what? Colleges even do that every year because people don't realize when you get a full ride, it's not like it's the full 4 years you're taking. It's 1-year deals. Scholarships are 1-year deals. So you sign a scholarship, and your first year, because, let's face facts, colleges are looking for the bigger and better. They're looking for the new flavor of the month. And if your feel is you're not the one that they really are interested in, then yeah, they could change their mind and they could end up signing someone else and doing someone else. So it's going to be interesting to see how all that plays out. But of course, that's why you do it. That's why you have all the fun. That's why it happens. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, and hopefully, and this is the biggest thing, it'll all work itself out. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's a thankless thing, and recruiting it shows its warts, no question about that. So, any other games that you saw stood out to you? I know you guys were out and about with Crunch covering other games. Any other games this past
Yeah,
week that kind of stood out to you?
I was up at Amherst covering Amherst and Heritage, and I thought Amherst and Coach Bob Christmas team up there looked much improved. Every time I see them, they look a little bit better all the time. And he's starting to, coaching isn't just X's and O's and getting your system put in there. It's a lot of convincing and a lot of selling what your offense is and what your defense is and what your philosophy is. And you can start to see the light come on for those kids up there, because Coach Christmas is a great coach. And I was talking to him after the game, interviewing him. And, one of the things that I kind of brought up was, I can hear him the whole game. Good plays, bad plays. I mean, he is constantly coaching, and he's loud. And if you've ever been to a Heritage game, Coach Bert Torrance over there is the loudest guy in the county during a football game, and Coach Bradley can be very loud as well. So it was a loud game, and with no fans, you can really hear everything all over the place, which I enjoy, because a lot of it is motivation. A lot of it is, hey, stay on task, don't get distracted, do your job, those kinds of things. And that's the kind of coaching I really enjoy, is when these guys that have done it a long time and are very successful, when they're working on kids, trying to get them to work together as a team, it's really interesting to hear how they go about it.
So when you look at that, I mean, Heritage came out with the win 27-0. Right now, when you look at all the classifications right now that are going on, there's a lot of consternation right there. Teams doing their thing to really separate themselves.
Yeah, not just that. I mean, the schedule is changing so much, Jermaine. It's still changing. I thought after we covered 6 games the first week, and I thought, okay, we'll get through the first week and we'll get back to some kind of normalcy. No way. I mean, just look at William Fleming. They're going to play Glenver Tuesday, and now they're going to play LCA Saturday night. And LCA lost the game with Jefferson Forest because Jefferson Forest had a COVID scare, and now they're waiting and trying to get cleaned up so they can start playing again. But these teams, they can't afford to miss games, so they're looking for each other to fill the gaps, and it's causing games. I mean, it's like playground. I mean, meet me here and we'll play. So it's hard to keep up with.
Yeah, the thing is, you look at both Salem and you look at Patrick Henry. They played 3 games in 11 days. So that's a lot of football. And then it looks like Fleming is kind of in that same boat where they're going to jam in 3 games in less than a week too, which is impressive considering the fact the games they lost. So by the Fleming schedule, they're going to get back to 6 games because, they lost the Northside game. So they made it up with Glenver, lost the Harrisonburg game, made that up with LCA. So now Fleming is back to 6 games, barring anything else that happens the rest of the way.
Well, it's going to be interesting too, watching if Northside, Jefferson Forest, and EC Glass, who've all had COVID scares or COVID stoppages, whether it was contact or whether it was actually someone on the team, who knows. But it'll be interesting to see if they can get back playing. How are they going to catch up? I mean, are they going to backload their schedule? Are they going to have 3 games in the last week to try to get to 6 games to see if they can make it to the postseason? I mean, it's still going to get crazy. It's not going to get any easier as we go along.
Because in theory, what you would probably do is you would set up your schedule to where if you could move it around, you could play on a Friday, then play on a Tuesday, and play on a Saturday. That's really, and I've seen that combination where a team, if they play on Tuesday, they're going to more likely play on Saturday to get more time and prep. So, and then let's say if you played on Friday, your next game is Tuesday. Okay, so you got Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So in essence, William Fleming has only got 3 days to prep for Glenver. Glenver they were off last week, but then again, Glenver schedule picks up because they play again on Saturday, I believe. Looking at their schedule, in fact, I think I got it up right here. We'll pull it up real quick. Glenver, they play on Saturday at home against Floyd County at 1 o'clock. But it's no different than the NFL. NFL, if you play on Sunday, then you got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you play on Thursday. So it's kind of similar to what the NFL does with a Thursday night schedule. So.
Yeah, except those are grown men that spend all their time, staying in shape and recovering and doing all the things they need to get back out on the field. We're talking about high school players where you play somebody like Botetourt that's that physical, and then you got to turn around in 3 days and play somebody else. Good luck. I mean, that factors into what you're doing, and it's hard to get your legs back. It's hard to, get back into playing shape. And I know, I think Coach Weaver found that, when they had to play Pulaski County on a Saturday, after playing Patrick Henry on a Tuesday, I believe it was, and it was hard for them to get their legs back. So it's going to affect play.
Good stuff. So we got games coming up. In fact, our first game is Tuesday, and I kind of call this week 3. Even though for some teams it might be 4 or 5 or whatever, but it's week 3. And the first game we got, again, William Fleming taking on Glenver. That's a game Tuesday at 6 o'clock from Highlander Heaven. Glenver right now, they're 0-1. They lost to Stewart's Draft, and then they draw another tough team in William Fleming.
Well, they had a tough team in Northside already. So the one thing about Coach Clifford is he does not shy away from competition. He'll play anybody, anytime, anywhere. And, his kids kind of have that mentality too, which is, I think, something you like in a football team, but it's hard to, get a positive record when you're playing big schools and you're playing tough competition every week. Stewart's Draft, we went up and covered that game, and man, it was, it was something. It was certainly, it was a snowstorm for one, but Stewart Draft's got a good ball club.
And then coming up on Thursday, 2 more games, Chatham at Gretna and Dan River at Tunstall. 6 o'clock kickoffs for both.
Yeah. Hang on. If you're trying to keep up, you gotta get on the internet. You gotta call your friends. You gotta call Jermaine and find out what's going on. You gotta call, Crunch. You gotta listen. And, I'll be talking to coaches and they'll just throw something out and I'll be like, wow, when did that happen? They'll be getting on a bus going somewhere. It's like, wow, things are happening fast. And what's really interesting is the teams that are affected by, COVID or whatever, when, it affects 2 teams, whoever can't play, and then whoever they're playing is knocked out of their game. And you see these strange alliances where the teams that are knocked out that can't play and are unaffected by COVID, they start calling each other. Hey, let's get together. Hey, we're open, you're open. Let's try to, we got to get to 6 games. It's a fascinating time. It'll never happen again.
There you go. You got to figure that out because, again, you need the games and you need to get to 6, to have a shot at the playoffs. A couple other games we're going to go to. This is Friday, a normal Friday, as they say. We're going to look at the Dogwood District. We have a couple of games that kick off at 6. Nelson County is at Appomattox County, and then Alta Vista playing at William Campbell in the Campbell County rivalry.
Yeah, that's our Lynchburg game of the week. We'll go watch Alta Vista and William Campbell. We try to catch that game from time to time. It's 2 of our Crunch teams in Lynchburg, and it's always a good battle. They're not too far away from each other, and a lot of times they're pretty evenly matched, and so we expect that one to be a good game. Appomattox, just continues to roll. Who wants to play Appomattox? They just pound everybody they play. And if there's one team out there that this crazy schedule doesn't seem to affect or hasn't affected so far, it's Appomattox. They just keep playing like they've always played.
Talking about the Power One, baby. That's how they roll over there. Power One, rocking and rolling. Then let's go over to the River Ridge District where we have 3 games. Salem, in that district, they got a bye this week. So in that district, there's a bye because there's an uneven number. So
right.
Patrick Henry hosting Cave Spring. Of course, that game will also air, the replay of it will also air on WWCW. That's the WWCW game of the week for us on Friday Night Blitz and WFXRTV.com. So Cave Spring, fresh off their win over Blacksburg. Patrick Henry trying to recover from their loss to Salem. Hidden Valley, they were on a bye last week, taking on Christiansburg, hosting that game. And then Pulaski County, 3-0, taking on Blacksburg, that's 0-3. So just looking at those games, your thoughts about any of those games or all those games?
Those are really interesting games. I mean, the one that's most interesting to me is Hidden Valley in Christiansburg. Christiansburg's taken a couple on the chin. They've got a great ball club. Hidden Valley's got a fine club too, and they can't get a win. So you're talking about a couple teams that thought they would be sitting better at this time in the season, who are really trying to figure out, we got to get a win and get going here. And that one's going to be, that one's for something. That they're going to play hard on that one for sure. Cave Spring, all of a sudden, beating Blacksburg 34-7 like they did last week. That makes it interesting with PH coming off their first loss. Cave Spring is really an interesting team to watch now. That Skylar Griffiths kid, the quarterback wearing number 35, man, he can really motor. He fools people. He gets on the corner and he's gone. And he's really helped Cave Spring's offense. So, and then Pulaski County, I mean, that's a story in itself. Coach Mark Dixon coming there from Galax, and now already he has the Cougars on everybody's high alert. He's already establishing, the kind of team he's known for, and that's really a team that can run the ball. But I like his quarterback. That Drew Allen kid, when I watched him earlier this year, he's got great touch. And, when you got a team that can run it and throw it, it puts a lot of pressure on you.
Good stuff. Let's shift over to the Blue Ridge District. We were going to have a couple of games. Obviously, again, Northside is on the protocol, so we don't have the bye. Or actually, we would have a bye, but obviously William Fleming, they got that game on Saturday. But looking at games on Friday, again, Stand River taking on Franklin County, a battle of feathers, battle of Eagles, Golden Eagles versus Eagles. And then William Byrd at Lord Bottot, your traditional rivalry game in the Blue Ridge District.
Yeah, they ought to call this the Black and Blue Ridge District because these teams are physical. Bird's coming off playing Franklin County, and now they got to go over to Bottot and play. Again, you talk about recovering and getting ready for the next game and getting your legs under you. You got to go play Bottot. Bottot is so big and physical, and they play just like Coach Harless wants them to play. They get behind those big guys, and they really take it to you. So that'll be a challenge for Bird. Bird played great against Franklin County. That was a close game until, got away a little bit in the second half. But Franklin County's got a fine team. And Stanton River, I think, surprised some people. They lost their first game, but they scored 35 points on Magna Vista. And Coach Leonard, he's got a system over there. They run that single wing, and if they can get it going and get the kids believing in it and get, the blocks where they need them and the backs where challenge as well.
That's a good one right there. Yeah, I see that. I mean, those are two physical contests right then and there. Then let's go over to the Seminole District. A couple of games. Again, remember JF and EC Glass here on a competition pause. So we only have two games from that district. That'd be Amherst taking on Brookville, and then Heritage at Rustburg.
Yeah, Brookville is. I saw Brookville against LCA, and Coach Meeks has a nice team. He's got good players. But the one thing about Brookville that it will sneak up on you if you don't pay attention is they're just tough kids. So if you get into a close game with them, they can't wait to prove how tough they are, and they're that kind of team. So I think that's the interesting one for me over there is Amherst keeps getting better, and then Brookville is out to prove something. And, a lot of people are pointing to a little bit later in the season where Brookville and Heritage are going to meet. And the way it's lining up, it looks like that might be an important game.
And then also one Valley District team, Rockbridge County's in the Valley District. They're taking on Waynesboro up at Waynesboro.
Yeah, I don't follow these guys as much, but they play good football up there. Obviously, Rockbridge.
They're 2-0, by the way, just to let you know. They are 2-0, so they've jumped off to a 2-0 start.
Yeah, well, I mean, that there's something to be said for that in this pandemic year. I mean, a win's a win's a win. So and you need them to get to the postseason. So, at least you're getting to play games. But Rockbridge County has good talent year in and year out. Sometimes they struggle with the competition they play, but and Waynesboro's known for being hard nosed as well. So that should be a good game.
Then also a couple of teams will go to the Three Rivers District. James River. I think this is a good matchup here. Carroll County 3-0 on the season, playing very well right now. I mean, typically Carroll County struggles, but they're off to a 3-0 start, the first time I think in a long time that they've gotten off to a great start. I mean, I think since 2006. So it's been a while since they've done that. Taking on James River, team coming off a loss to Radford after going off to the good start against Allegheny. Speaking of Allegheny and Radford, they're playing each other. That game as at Allegheny, Radford off to a 1-0 start. So Three Rivers District action there.
Yeah, Carroll County being an interesting team this year. I think surprising some people. They beat Floyd County and they just beat Giles. Anytime you beat Giles, that raises some everybody's attention. It gets everybody's attention because Giles, Coach Williams' teams over there they're gonna be physical. So if you beat them like they beat Giles, chances are you're a physical team as well. So it'll be interesting. I know Carroll County. I think you're right. I think that's a good matchup. James River smarting from Radford coming over there and putting it on them last week, but they would love nothing more than to knock off Carroll County, which hadn't been beaten yet.
Also, just got some interesting news in, and not a surprise, but it had to happen. Averett is going to become a full-time member of the Old Dominion Athletic Conference
Wow.
beginning in July the 1st of 2022. So, and I've always thought that Averett fit the ODAC. I mean, they were in the USA South the last few years, but now they're in the ODAC. And I know, of course, we have a lot of local talent that play on those teams in those areas. But just your thoughts about that because they're joining the ODAC. Averett.
Yeah, I love that. Like you said, we have some guys that from this area that went down there and played and are playing there, and the more the merrier. I mean, any opportunities for our kids in this area in Southwest Virginia to go on and get an education and continue to do what they love, which is play sports, I'm all for, and I think that's a good addition. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think it fits geography-wise because, like I said, and if you look at it, the ODAC is losing Emory and Henry, so you replace basically Emory and Henry with Averett. But then another team that I feel should be in the ODAC too would be Southern Virginia. I think they play football in the conference, and obviously it's going to help the ODAC when it comes to a football standpoint. You're adding a football member school, so you really don't lose one in that regard. Okay, so just want to break that to you. Just got the word on that.
Good.
So, hey, breaking news on this. Okay, so our game of the week, and Ryan Moy will be making the 2-hour drive down to South Boston. It's going to be George Washington. And these are also, we have games involving the Seminole District. The Piedmont District. George Washington taking on Halifax down in South Boston. Magna Vista taking on Patrick County, and then a 7:30 start. This is a Seminole Piedmont District matchup, Liberty at Bassett. But let's circle back to our game of the week. GW Danville taking on Halifax.
Yeah, GW Danville's got to right the ship after going up visiting Botetourt and really getting it handed to them. So, they've got good talent. They've always got good teams, but it's hard to recover from those kinds of games. I'm sure they will. I'm sure they'll play well. Halifax always plays very well, I think, against GW Danville. They're used to each other. Those schools know each other. And Halifax always has a lot of speed, a lot of athletes over there. So I think that one will be fun. I wouldn't be surprised if there are a lot of points scored in that game.
And also keep in mind, too, George Washington is coming off a win Friday. They beat Patrick County at home 41-0. So they definitely right the ship on that. And then also, we got Chilhowie taking on Rural Retreat. That's another Friday game. Then Saturday, a big schedule of games. We got George Wythe at Galax, another big rivalry game. Floyd, that's at noon. Floyd County's taking on Glenver. That's a 1 o'clock start. Also at 1 o'clock, Perry McClure at Covington, another rivalry matchup. Narrows and Eastern Montgomery. That's a 1 o'clock game. Those are rivals as well. And then Fort Chiswell taking on Blaine County. That game's at 2. And then Auburn will take on Grayson County at Galax. So apparently all of Grayson County's home games will take place at Galax because of turf. Obviously, if you have a turf field, you have an opportunity to play some games. And then William Fleming taking on Liberty Christian at Williams Stadium. That's a 7 o'clock game Saturday night. So looking at that group of games, Captain Crunch Carl York, what say you about those?
Well, our game in New River Valley this week is Eastmont and Narrows. Narrows, man, the last couple of years they've been tough. They have really stepped up their game. Have always had good teams. Coach Lowe does a great job over there, and they're exciting to watch. They'll throw it, they'll run it, they play hard-nosed defense, and they've got some big guys for a small school. So Eastmont's had a much better year this year. Got to have some wins. So we're looking forward to that one. There's a young lady that kicks extra points for Eastmont over there. So that's always interesting. And I understand that she's an all-state soccer player. So they've got they can have her on the team and use her leg, but they better take care of her because, she plays soccer too and some other sports. So, but a good athlete. But now we're looking forward to that game. That's the one that's interesting to me. We just saw Fort Chiswell play Auburn this past Saturday. That was our game of the week in New River Valley this past week, and they've got a good team. They did lose their quarterback. They have a very good quarterback, a Bailey kid, but he hurt his ankle, and it didn't look good. They took him out on a stretcher. He either sprained it really bad or broke it, and they had a capable backup, but he was a difference maker for them. But Fort Chiswell's got about 5 or 6 guys that all look like the starting running back. They run well, they cut well, they set up their blocks. So Fort Chiswell's got a fine team.
And so it's going to be fun to see them out there doing that. And, like I said, high school football's in its full swing. I mean, we're kind of near the midway point. Some teams will be playing their 3rd game. Some, heck, will be playing their 4th game. But we're right around the midway point. As we wrap up our crunch time with Captain Crunch Carl York right here on WFXRTV.com, what's the biggest thing you've noticed? What has stood out to you so far as we're kind of in the midway point of the high school football season?
Well, I mean, the interesting thing is obviously the schedule moving around. I mean, that you didn't expect that. I didn't expect that. And to, like we talked about, to have to, play games quickly. I mean, 3 games in 11 days or whatever, that's different. And I think it changes the way you approach games. I think, you can't just, if you're going to try to win all 3 of those, you've got to figure out a way to win, but be conservative with your legs and do some things that save some of what you got for the next one. So I think that's interesting. I think, some of the teams that we thought were going to be really good this year are. No surprises, Salem and Botetourt and some of those guys. So the New River Valley surprised me a little bit because, I thought Blacksburg would be better. And maybe they will be. Maybe they're one of the teams that just not enough prep work for Coach Schloss and his team to really get their legs under them. And then Christiansburg's, a tough draw with who they've played. Both of the Bergs, both Blacksburg and Christiansburg, started off playing Salem as their first game. That's not a good draw. So scheduling is different. The coaches are just as, coaches are creatures of habit. They like to get into a rhythm. They like to do certain things, certain days, and get into that rhythm and get the kids used to it and kind of almost like the military, get them ready for the battle on the weekends. And they're having trouble doing that because there is no consistency in the schedule. So it's really a challenge for those guys.
Because if you look at a game, let's say you played on Friday, but you got a game on Tuesday. I mean, it's all about balance because the kids, they definitely need a break. So, I mean, I'm sure if I had to guess, and again, I don't know what the coaches are doing, but they're doing a great job under these circumstances. Again, you got to have your days off here, and you got to, kind of get your body ready, because what the NFL, we talked about the NFL and how they had quick turnarounds. And yes, these are guys that are professionals and all that, but still, your body still needs to get that quick. I mean, you still have to recover, because they said playing a football game is like having multiple car accidents in the sense of the contact. I mean, think of the line play. I mean, it's about the trenches. Every single time, offensive and defensive lines, they collide all the time. They're like this. So think about it like in a game where there's, say, and a lot of these teams, you got guys that play both ways. So that's another thing that can't be lost on, is you have guys that are playing both ways. So that's another thing that's really tough.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I think, part of what you do if you have the numbers is you try to get younger guys ready and in there earlier so that they can spell the guys that are really going to carry the mail for you on offense, or that are really making a lot of the tackles on defense. You try to keep them off the offensive side of the ball during this particular season to try to save their legs. But the coaches and the kids are first and foremost are trying to win games. So if they have to spend themselves to win that game, they'll figure out the next game, when it comes up. But again, pay close attention to that, because it could affect the outcome of the next game. I think, if you look at the schedule and the DNA of Botetourt and how physical they are, you got to make sure that even if you win a game against Botetourt, you got to make sure that you don't lose the next game, as well. Or if you lose a game to somebody like Botetourt or Salem, you got to make sure it doesn't cost you the next game too. You got to think that way if you're going to try to make it to the postseason.
Good stuff. Well, Carl, Captain Crunch, Carl York, of course, you can hear him. He has Crunch Time on the radio, WPOY, Saturdays at 10. You also see him or hear him on Greg Roberts Live with Greg Roberts, Randy Leftwich, Captain Crunch, Carl York in the mix, along with Doug Dowdy, and, of course, the aficionado Chuck Baker. And, of course, you have his publication, Crunch Time. So a lot of good stuff there, Carl. And, again, congratulations. Good luck the rest of the way. And looking forward to seeing you next week with Crunch Time, baby.
Crunch Time, baby.